November 14th, 2023, an auspicious day for Forward and Heidi Armbruster's play Murder Girl. On that day, in a stirring, sweet moment for the history books, a bipartisan resolution of Wisconsin lawmakers declared the brandy old-fashioned the state's official cocktail. Though it wasn't public yet, Forward's advisory company had already voted on our season slate for 2024-2025, with the world premiere of the homegrown supper club story you'll see today, one of the hearts of our production plans. Needless to say, there's been plenty of toasting the play with the state's official drink for over a year at this point. Welcome to Forward and welcome to Murder Girl. I'm Marcella Kearns, Artistic Associate here at Forward, and I'm your host for this introduction to the play, our playwright, and Forward's production. First of all, a little bit about this story. Did you know that the state of Wisconsin has the highest per capita of supper clubs and serial killers? Yeah, that fun fact is how Heidi herself opens the description of Murder Girl and how she concludes, family are the people you'd kill for or the people you'd like to kill. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. The story tonight takes us to the woods of Wisconsin and to Marty's, a supper club that's a local institution. It's 2006 and it's close to Christmas. The owners of the club, twins LeeAnn and Eric, who inherited the place from their mother Marty, are working hard to sustain it. Alongside these two, you'll meet their cook, Ted, and three of their servers, waitresses, Charlotte, and Jen. Yes, indeed, that's two Charlottes. As a shocking discovery in town sends ripples through the community, the staff of the supper club find themselves speculating on the cause and wondering if one of them is at the heart of it. Murder mystery, comedy, cozy, found family drama. We'll dig into genre a little bit later as we explore the play. But first, about our playwright. Heidi Armbruster is, as her bio on the New Play Exchange asserts, an enthusiastic believer in the Church of Compassionate Curiosity. If you think that kindness sounds like a Midwesterner, you'd be right. Heidi is homegrown. Originally from the Madison area, Heidi grew up the daughter of a dairy farmer. She went to UW as an undergrad and earned her Master of Fine Arts from the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. On stage, she's had a long career in New York, both off and on Broadway. Notably, she was in the Lincoln Center theater production of Ayad Akhtar's Pulitzer Prize-winning play Disgraced, a play which catapulted another Wisconsinite onto the national scene. Indeed, he grew up in Brookfield. She also originated the role of Trisha in the premiere of Samuel D. Hunter's paired plays, Lewiston Clarkston off-Broadway at the Rattlestick. Forward audiences may remember our pandemic-era streamed production. Heidi also has an extensive film and television resume with credits from 30 Rock to House of Cards, Younger, Partner Track, Manifest, Dead Ringers, and more. Another fun fact, if you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, yes, Heidi's in that mix too. You would have seen her as psychiatrist Dr. Ellen Mercer in Daredevil. Heidi's early playwriting career ramped up in the 20-teens, where she enjoyed several developmental workshops and premieres throughout notable theater spaces such as the Lark, Primary Stages, the Dorset Theater Festival, and the Chautauqua Theater Festival. Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival commissioned her adaptation of Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Closer to home, you may have heard a reading of her play about Agatha Christie's temporary disappearance, Mrs. Christie, or seen her one-woman autobiographical play Scarecrow at Next Act Theater in Milwaukee. Indeed, Heidi now splits her time between Brooklyn and Milwaukee. She came back to Wisconsin a few years ago to take care of family. That story is one you can hear about in Scarecrow, and the Wisconsin theater community has embraced its native daughter on stage and off. We're glad you've come home, Heidi. We're the better for it. A side note, if you ever run into Heidi and would like to toast her, her old-fashioned order is a bourbon old-fashioned press, and as she says, that fruit better be muddled. In fact, please excuse the buzz marketing here. Her brother is actually a bar owner in town, Madison, and she says his are the best old fashions. About the play, from the playwright herself. So, with Heidi, a local, we've had a lovely benefit of being able to spend time with her and have the inside scoop for you on the history of this play's development. So, Heidi started writing Murder Girl almost 10 years ago. She had an early idea about a brother and a sister who are running their family business together and was really interested in looking at inherited trauma, toxicity as it related to generations of alcoholics, and how to reconcile and heal, as she says, those original wounds. As she put it, the play was not working, so she put it away for a time. Later, as part of the 2021-2022 cohort at Page 73, which is a Brooklyn-based writers group for writers who have not yet had their off-Broadway New York City debut, she started bringing in pages to share with them. A little later on, Jacob Jansen, the artistic director at Third Avenue Playworks up in Door County here in Wisconsin, asked her to do something there at TAP. She rewrote the ending of this play almost overnight. I was doing a show at the time, she says, and am a terrible procrastinator. She dropped every murder mystery trope she could think of into the last 30 minutes of that rewrite, or 30 pages rather, and she says it worked. She had a one-day workshop at TAP and has since been in continuous development up through the premiere today. So her task over that next year was to bring those two plays into alignment, to craft a play that worked both as a murder mystery and as a story about a chosen family that needs to heal. As she says, Jen and Forward and Page 73 have been hugely helpful in doing that continuing work, as well as my writers group, Women Artists Writing, Heidi says. Beyond TAP and Forward, in fact, the play had developmental work through the Playwriting Collective, Red Caravan, and Kansas City Repertory Theater. The very latest, Forward held a developmental workshop and reading in winter 2024, so much earlier this year. Over the summer, after Heidi had had time to process changes, we did a table read of the newest version at the Forward office. Closer to entering production of the premiere then, the script was, quote, locked, end quote, for purposes of design, actor preparation, and rehearsal, though there have been some nominal and notable changes to dialogue. Heidi has been present very often for rehearsals and production meetings, and really, truly, it is a gift that doesn't often occur in production, so we're having a lot of fun. Heidi's process. I'd like to talk with you just a little bit about her writing process itself, as she related it to me. First, she asserts that her process is really different in different projects. One thing, however, it looks like is always the same. I hate to generate, she says, and I love to edit. The hardest part for me is actually sitting down to write, because procrastinator, and facing the blank page. But if I can trick myself and do it fast, I do. After that point, she takes time to refine that block of excavated marble, as she puts it. Sometimes she likes to work on two projects simultaneously. She thinks of one as her husband and one as her lover. And if I can trick myself into being naughty, the lover will inevitably get more attention. I get something done. Of her 5 completed plays, 2 are about her home state of Wisconsin, 2 are about Agatha Christie, including that adaptation of The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Murder Girl was her first attempt to write a murder mystery in Wisconsin, to put those two things together. It's also the first murder mystery that she's ever written, excluding adaptations. I love writing about Wisconsin, she shared with us. I'm really proud to be from this part of the world, proud that my father was a dairy farmer and taught at the Department of Dairy Science. I am a proud graduate of UW-Madison. I'm proud to get to work in this part of the world and tell stories about Wisconsin to Wisconsinites. So, how did we bring the play to Forward? Here are some notes from our artistic director, Jen Uphoff Gray, who's also directing this premiere, about how it came to our theater. So when Heidi returned to Wisconsin and began to get to know the theater community in depth, she ended up sending Jen 3 prior scripts. Jen was really impressed with her voice and writing style, and she knew she wanted to produce her art at some point. But none of those particular scripts really was the right match. Murder Girl, however, hit the sweet spot. It was a mystery, first of all, which appealed, as that's a genre that we haven't delved into very often. It had a sense of humor, and true to our mission, Ford really likes and wants to support artists who are working in Wisconsin. Jen simply also likes new plays and working with new writers. This was a one-set show, also a cast of 6, so it was compact and producible. It checked all the boxes. When Jen was reading the play, she also happened to ask Heidi for any books, TV shows, etc. she should read or check out that would be stylistic cousins to the play. Remember, Heidi was trying to really suss out how to manage the tones from 2 different original ideas that came together. So Heidi ended up saying Coen Brothers films. And in that moment, Jen knew she could direct it. Heidi had said, watch Fargo. So Jen says she's not a deep expert on mysteries, but she knows the style, and really responded to this. So she's also no stranger to working with new plays, and was really excited to take this one under her wing. Every new play, she says, is so its own self. She says, sometimes I call myself a midwife when we're mounting a new play. I'm there to assist and support what the playwright is birthing. It's as unique as a child. No 2 processes are the same. So she was really looking forward to working with Heidi, and also creating a unique playwright-director partnership and vocabulary with each other. A relationship that will continue when Heidi comes back to Ford over the winter, not as playwright, but as actor in summer 1976. Murder Girl is partnered with the rest of our season of deliberately chosen two-handers about friendship, the one-on-one connection of individual to individual. All handle relationships with family and chosen family, the vulnerability and risk involved in connection with another human. In Jen's words, how daunting it can be, and how necessary, and how rewarding. I'd like to set the scene. So some trivia here. Local supper clubs served as inspiration for Marty's, most notably Toby's and Fitz's on the Lake. So please do, check out the local feeling when you walk into the theater. But plan to walk back in time. Murder Girl takes place around Christmas 2006. It's about time for some Packers and Vikings, courtesy of ESPN.com. The Minnesota Vikings at that point played Green Bay Packers on Thursday, December 1st, week 16 of that 2006 season. In that game, the Packers won by a score of 9-7. Some of you probably know this by heart, so bear with me. The Packers swept the Vikings for that season. With this game, they finished the season 3-5-0 at home, while the Vikings finished 3-5-0 on the road. Yes, audience. You're going to hear, in other words, about Favre in this play. I said I'd come back to genre, and I would like to do so now too. So throughout the development process of the play, we've had a constant conversation at Ford about how the play seems to straddle genres. Remember what Heidi had to say about threading those 2 early ideas together? So deep into the rehearsal process, Jen reflected on where it's landing at this point. What I'm discovering about this play, she says, that I'm just loving is that it's actually sampling various different genres in a way that it becomes genre-less. There are elements of murder mystery, comedy, family drama, and workplace story. They weave together quite seamlessly to create an experience that, while it plays with the elements, nothing feels like it's happening for genre's sake. It's all character driven. So perhaps that early Coen Brothers reference was spot on after all. It's genreless, unpinnable, pulling from a great deal to land on a new form in both story and how design might support that work. To turn to design, actually, I'd love to talk a little bit about the team. So, Forward has assembled for this premiere a production team of both veterans to our stage and some new faces. Steve Barnes is serving as our scenic designer. He's based in Racine, and his work has been featured across 3 Wisconsin theater hubs: Door County, Milwaukee, and Madison. If you happened to see Diary of a Wimpy Kid at Children's Theater of Madison just a little bit ago, you've seen his most recent work here in town. Jono De Leon is our lighting designer. He is Forward Advisory Company deputy, and he's also an Overture Center staffer to boot. He's returning to the main stage after last creating lighting design, for Feeding Beatrice. Ren Ledasser is our costume designer. She is a frequent Forward collaborator, and she's a proponent, actually, of building closets, as she puts it, and as many costume designers put it, for characters as she works. One bit about that approach to design, what that means is that she collects a number of potential pieces for a character and works with the actor on assembling what their wardrobe for the show will be. Joe Cirqua is our composer and sound designer. He is resident here, actually, for Forward. Some of his conversations with Jen, going back as far as they do in terms of their collaborations with each other, they have a shorthand. And with this particular play, they covered very often how we tell the story of the holiday with music that may appear around this time in a supper club, and also how to find the beats of the spookier or more mysterious moments in this piece. Again, trying to find how the genre-less or the multiple genre tone should hit. Kaya Sarajian is our props designer. Murder Girl is Kaya's second production at Forward, with her debut with us on King James this fall. I'd like to share one challenge for Murder Girl here that Kaya has experienced: how to make a ribeye that characters eat on stage. 2, in fact. We had to find a way to make it expensively because, of course, ribeye is pricey, something that actors have to eat performance by performance. So it's a daily consumption on stage. That would probably break a props budget. We've actually decided to use and are using mushroom steaks, both for that reason, for budget, and because it's actually easy to chew. I'd like to turn now to our actors. First of all, Forward favorite Cassandra Bissell returns to the stage as LeeAnn here after appearing in The Wanderers last at Forward. Her twin Eric is played by Casey Hoekstra, who's making his Forward debut. Casey is familiar to both Milwaukee and APT audiences, and we're really glad that we're finally getting the chance to work with him here. Advisory company member Casem AbuLughod, last seen as the Legionnaire in What the Constitution Means to Me this spring, plays Ted, Marty's cook. Liz Cassarino, who understudied Colleen Madden in Constitution, but has been elsewhen seen on stage at Forward, notably in Silent Sky, for instance, plays Jen. And our 2 Charlottes, yes, there are indeed, as you may recall, 2 Charlottes as waitresses at Marty's. One is played by Celia Klehr, one of Forward's founders and staff members, and a Madison institution, and Sarah Day, a company member at APT. Sarah is also a Forward founder and former advisory company member. She took this year's season off at APT, and we're just so thrilled that she's chosen to return to the stage after her hiatus with Murder Girl. One constituency, part of the team that we have there all the time now, but who sometimes are unsung, are our understudies. For Murder Girl, we have 3 understudies who have taken on the 6 roles in the play. Each of them are covering 2. Claire Arena Hayden is taking on both Charlottes. Ken Miller is taking on Eric and Ted, and Sarah Strike is taking on LeeAnn and Jen. We asked them what their process was like learning to cover 2 roles for this production. Claire shared, you remember those old commercials where they showed you an egg and said, "This is your brain," and then they cracked it open and put it in a frying pan and it started to pop and sputter and they said, "This is your brain on drugs"? Well, that's my brain right now. In one way, Claire says, working on both parts is helpful because they, the Charlottes, are in conversation with each other for most of the play. So I need to know the cue lines in order to play one or the other Charlotte anyway. However, this show is so much about the precise timing and pacing to make it cook. And I'm finding that really difficult to do by myself without being in it, on my feet and putting it in my body, holding the props, doing the busy work, etc. It's one thing to just know the lines, but as you know, that all goes out the window when you have to actually move and to do the thing. It's been really challenging. Fun, but challenging. For his part, Ken Miller actually says what's really helpful with this show is understudying 2 characters who have very different physical and vocal energies, which helps keep them separate as he runs the show solo for himself. He says, I also focus a lot on small quirks and inflections the actors do themselves to give my mind a foothold of sorts. And I try to make sure I cover a little of both every day. I'd also like to speak a little bit about the experience of our assistant director. Advisory company member Elise Edelman, who just directed Diary of a Wimpy Kid for CTM, is our assistant director for this production. She's offered up some fun behind-the-scenes look at process, and it's with that I'll wrap up our conversation for today. She assists Jen. She offers her insight. She's also done some research behind the scenes in order to support the production. So first thing she says is it's been so much fun to be in a rehearsal process where so much of the dramaturgy or research is rooted in Wisconsin and the people we know and grew up with. Just yesterday, we spent a chunk of rehearsal debating the Wisconsin old-fashioned, how a bartender would ask sweet or sour, and the specifics of how it's made here versus the rest of the country. So in Wisconsin, the go-to, as you know, is brandy, but elsewhere, whiskey is the default. Another fun thought that she has, having the playwright in rehearsal, she echoes, is really special as we create the play. It's always a special experience. While our work typically focuses on unearthing the underlying motivations within the text, having Heidi present allows us to work more efficiently. We can ask questions directly to the person who knows the answers. On the first day, she shared that the inspiration for the genres and for this work came from Murder, She Wrote, Deadlock, Fargo, and The Bear. So it's been a delight to layer these genre elements in alongside the real human stakes of the story. As the assistant director, she says Jen also tasked her with finding photos that might be on Marty's wall of fame inside the supper club. This would be on set. So she researched and compiled a list of some famous individuals who were born and raised in Wisconsin and may have visited the restaurant, making it onto the wall of fame between the 1970s and 2006. Audience members, when you go in to see the theater, to see the play, don't neglect to check out what Jen and Heidi chose for the wall when you see the scenic design. I guarantee you're going to enjoy it. In conclusion, I'd like to say, here's to your old fashions, to your ribeye, your holiday right here at home in Wisconsin. Watch out for roadkill. See you in a few at Marty's. And last but not least, tell your folks I says hi.